The sleek diplomatic vessel glided through the darkness of space toward the massive orbital station that served as the heart of the galactic hegemony. Inside, Ambassador Nari Park gazed out the viewport at the approaching structure, its golden spires gleaming against the backdrop of stars. 10 minutes to docking, Ambassador, the pilot called. Nari nodded, her face calm but her mind alert. Earth had only recently joined the interstellar community after decades of careful preparation. She knew what was at stake. The reports about King Tejo, ruler of the hegemony, were troubling. He was known to look down on newer species, especially humans. She straightened her formal gray suit and checked her reflection. At 43, Nari had the polished look of a career diplomat, her black hair neatly styled, her dark eyes revealing nothing of her thoughts. No one would guess that beneath her perfect diplomatic credentials lay another identity entirely. The ship docked with a gentle shudder. Nari took a deep breath and moved toward the airlock. This was what she had trained for. Remember, Captain Han said quietly as she passed, the king has refused to meet 5 other human diplomats before you. Be careful. Nari gave him a small smile. I always am. The doors opened to reveal a grand reception hall. 5 tall aliens in ornate robes waited, their pale blue skin marked with the royal symbols of the hegemony. The tallest stepped forward. Ambassador Park. I am Minister June. Welcome to the seat of galactic civilization. His words were polite, but his tone suggested he found her presence distasteful. King Tejo was surprised Earth would send a female to handle matters of such importance. Nari bowed slightly, just enough to be polite but not enough to suggest submission. Minister June, Earth sends its most qualified representatives. I look forward to showing King Tejo why I was chosen. The minister's eyes narrowed slightly. Indeed. You will be escorted to your quarters. The king will see you tomorrow, if he has time. As Nari followed her escort through the gleaming hallways, she carefully observed everything: the placement of security cameras, the guard rotations, the hidden weapon scanners in the doorways. She noted how other alien diplomats stopped their conversations to watch her pass, some with curiosity, others with clear disdain. Her quarters were luxurious but clearly designed for surveillance. Nari went through the motions of unpacking while her mind catalogued 7 different listening devices and 3 camera positions. Later that evening, a servant brought her dinner. The young alien seemed nervous, nearly dropping the tray. Is everything all right? Nari asked gently. The servant looked around fearfully. Be careful, human. The last diplomat from the Taro system who displeased the king never left the station. Before Nari could respond, the servant hurried away. Nari ate her meal slowly, appearing to enjoy the exotic foods while actually testing each for poisons. When she was certain the meal was safe, she ate properly, maintaining her strength. Just before midnight, her secure communicator vibrated silently in her pocket. The message was brief: they plan to eliminate you. Protocol Nightingale is active. Nari deleted the message immediately and continued her evening routine, giving no sign that anything had changed. She prepared for bed as if she had no concerns beyond tomorrow's meeting. In the quiet darkness of her room, Nari lay awake, her mind clear and focused. This wasn't her first dangerous mission, nor would it be her last. Earth Command had sent her precisely because of who she really was, the operative codenamed Baba Yaga, named after the witch of old Earth legends. Through the wall, she could hear guards being positioned. The king wasn't even waiting for the pretense of diplomatic failure, he intended to eliminate her tonight. Nari smiled slightly in the darkness. The king believed humans were weak newcomers to the galactic stage. He thought her an easy target. Always underestimate your enemy, and you've already lost, she whispered to herself, recalling her old training master's words. As the sound of approaching footsteps reached her door, Nari silently rose from her bed. They would find no sleeping diplomat to eliminate. Instead, they would encounter the shadow that had toppled dictators across 3 star systems. The Baba Yaga was awake, and the hunt had begun. The royal gardens stretched nearly half a kilometer, filled with plants from 100 worlds. Walking paths wound through glowing trees and strange flowering bushes that changed colors with the artificial night cycle. Nari strolled alone after the formal dinner, seemingly admiring the exotic beauty around her. In reality, she was counting footsteps, tracking movements in the shadows, and noting the positions of the 6 royal guards who thought they were secretly following her. Nari paused by a fountain shaped like a twisting alien creature. The water bubbled softly, masking other sounds. Perfect. The night air is pleasant, isn't it? She said without turning around. A moment of silence followed before a voice responded from the darkness. How did you know I was here? A tall guard stepped out from behind a luminescent tree, his hand already on his weapon. You breathe too loudly, Nari said with a small smile. And your stealth training needs work. The guard didn't reply. Instead, he raised a small dart gun and fired. Nari tilted her head slightly to the left. The dart missed her neck by millimeters and hit a flower behind her. The plant immediately withered and died. Interesting choice of poison, she commented. Quick acting. Untraceable. The king must be very eager for me to leave. Before the guard could reload, Nari closed the distance between them. Her movements were fluid, almost impossibly fast. One moment she was standing by the fountain, the next she was beside the guard. A precise strike to his neck, and he crumpled unconscious. Nari gently dragged him behind the large ornamental bushes and continued her walk as if nothing had happened. 2 more guards appeared ahead on the path. They made no pretense of hiding, blocking her way with weapons drawn. Ambassador Park, the taller one said, by order of King Taeho, you are to be detained for questioning. Nari smiled pleasantly. On what grounds, may I ask? Espionage. Sabotage of royal property. Take your pick. How disappointing, Nari sighed. And here I thought we were making diplomatic progress. She picked up a thin decorative stake that supported a nearby plant. The guards laughed. What do you plan to do with that, Diplomat? The shorter one mocked. Improvise, Nari replied. What happened next would later be described by the garden's automated security system as unexplainable data corruption. The footage showed only blurred motion and then both guards lying unconscious on the path. Nari stood between them, the plant stake back in its original position, not a hair out of place on her head. She continued her walk. The remaining guards coordinated through their communication devices, planning to surround her at the garden's center. They were professional killers, elite members of the Royal Security Force, trained in the art of silent elimination. None of them returned to report to Minister June. 2 hours later, Nari walked calmly back to her quarters. She nodded politely to the regular station security she passed in the hallway. Once inside her room, she sent a formal message to King Taeho. Your Majesty, I must report concerning activity in the royal gardens this evening. Perhaps additional security would be advisable? I would hate for any harm to come to visiting diplomats during their leisure time. In the Palace Security Center, Minister June stared at the surveillance feeds in disbelief. All 7 royal guards, the king's best assassins, were incapacitated. 2 claimed a witch had attacked them, a woman who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. What is she? The minister whispered to himself. He rewound the footage, searching for evidence of her techniques, but found only blurred images when she moved at full speed. It was as if the cameras themselves couldn't capture her movements. Meanwhile, Nari connected a small device to her room's communication panel. Using an untraceable algorithm, she bypassed the hegemony's security and accessed their restricted networks. Within minutes, she discovered files detailing the accidental deaths of 17 diplomats from various lesser worlds over the past 5 years. Each one had opposed King Taeho's policies. Each one had died after unfortunate incidents remarkably similar to her shuttle malfunction. Nari downloaded the evidence and sent encrypted copies to representatives of the affected worlds, along with an invitation to meet secretly the following day. As she worked, Nari thought about the name her handlers used, Baba Yaga, the witch from old Earth legends who lived in a house with chicken legs and devoured those who threatened the innocent. It wasn't a name she had chosen, but over the years, she had come to embrace it. The hunters had become the hunted, though King Taeho didn't know it yet. His elite guards had failed. His sabotage had failed. Now, his secrets were being exposed. In his royal chambers, the king received the report of his guard's failure. "Impossible," he roared. "No human could defeat my elite guard." "The evidence suggests otherwise, Your Majesty," Minister June said carefully. King Taeho's eyes narrowed. "Then I will face this witch myself. Prepare the throne room for tomorrow. It's time to end this game." Little did he know, the game was already over. Baba Yaga had won before he even knew they were playing. The grand throne room of the galactic hegemony gleamed with precious metals and rare stones. King Taeho sat upon his elevated throne, looking down at the assembled diplomats and counselors. His face showed calm, but his knuckles were white where he gripped the armrests. Nari entered last, dressed in simple but elegant Earth diplomatic attire. She bowed precisely the correct amount, enough to show respect for the office, not enough to show submission. "Ambassador Park," King Taeho's voice echoed through the chamber. "How kind of you to join us after your eventful stay." "The honor is mine, Your Majesty," Nari replied evenly. "I've found my visit most educational." The king's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Indeed? And what have you learned about our glorious hegemony?" "Many things. Your mining operations are impressive. Your gardens are beautiful." She paused. "Your security systems need improvement." A murmur ran through the assembled dignitaries. No one spoke to the king this way. Bold words from a representative of a primitive world, King Taeho said, his voice hardening. "Earth has barely mastered interstellar travel, yet you presume to judge us?" Nari smiled politely. "Not judging, Your Majesty. Merely observing." The king stood suddenly. "Enough games. This woman is not what she appears to be." The room fell silent. "This supposed diplomat is an assassin and spy," King Taeho announced. "A human operative known as Baba Yaga." Gasps and whispers filled the chamber. One elder counselor leaned forward in his seat. "The Baba Yaga? The human witch who brought down the Quan dictatorship? The shadow that collapsed the Gene Trade Syndicate? Those are just stories." "They are not stories," King Taeho hissed. "And she is here to destabilize our hegemony." All eyes turned to Nari, who stood calmly, hands folded before her. "Interesting accusations, Your Majesty," she said quietly. "Almost as interesting as the evidence I've gathered about 17 diplomats from developing worlds who mysteriously died after opposing your policies." The king's face darkened with rage. "Guards! Arrest this spy." 8 royal guards surrounded Nari, weapons drawn. The other diplomats backed away, creating space around her. "You see," the king said triumphantly. "If she were merely a diplomat, she would be frightened now." Nari glanced around at the armed guards, then back at the king. "Is this how the hegemony treats all diplomatic guests, or am I receiving special attention?" "You will receive the attention reserved for spies and assassins," the king snarled. "Before your guards attempt anything unfortunate," Nari said calmly, "perhaps you should explain to the council why ships from your royal fleet were present at each of those 17 diplomatic accidents I mentioned." An elderly counselor stood shakily. "What is she talking about, Your Majesty?" King Taeho waved dismissively. "Lies from a desperate spy." "Not lies," Nari replied. She removed a small data device from her pocket. "Evidence. Complete logs of royal fleet movements matching the times and locations of each diplomat's death. Communications between your ships and royal command. Orders in your personal code." The council chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Several counselors stood, demanding to see the evidence. "Enough!" King Taeho roared. "Guards, take her now." What happened next became legendary across the hegemony. The guards moved in unison, but Nari moved faster. Using only a ceremonial pen from her pocket and her dinner plate, she disabled 3 guards in the first 5 seconds. The council chamber descended into chaos as diplomats scrambled for the exits. The remaining guards fired their weapons, but somehow Nari was never where the shots landed. She moved like water, flowing, unstoppable. Each movement was precise, economical, deadly in its efficiency. Within moments, all 8 royal guards lay unconscious or groaning on the polished floor. King Tejo had tried to flee during the confusion, but found his path blocked by Nari, who suddenly stood before the chamber's main exit. "How?" he gasped. "How can a human move like that?" "The legends of Baba Yaga are incomplete," Nari said quietly. "They tell of her victories but not her training. Not the years spent mastering every human combat form. Not the neural enhancements that allow her to process information at triple speed." The king backed away, drawing a concealed weapon. "Stay back, witch." "Earth didn't send an assassin," Nari told the stunned council members who remained. "They sent me because they knew I could survive your assassins. They knew I could expose the truth." "The truth?" an elder counselor asked. "That King Tejo has been eliminating representatives from any world that challenged his power. That he planned to keep Earth weak and isolated, as he has done with dozens of emerging species." The king fired his weapon. Nari caught the energy bolt with her specially lined glove and let it dissipate harmlessly. "Impossible," the king screamed. "Many things are possible that you don't understand," Nari replied calmly. "Including justice." Several senior council members stepped forward, their expressions grim with resolve. "King Tejo," the eldest said, "you will surrender yourself for investigation of these charges. By council authority, you are relieved of command until this matter is settled." King Tejo's face contorted with rage and fear. "This isn't over, witch," he hissed at Nari. "You have no idea what forces you've unleashed." Nari's expression remained serene. "Neither do you, your majesty. Neither do you." The council chamber had been transformed into a formal court. 24 representatives from across the galaxy sat in a semicircle, watching as King Tejo stood before them, no longer wearing his royal insignia. Nari sat quietly at a small table to the side. Though she appeared calm, her senses remained alert. The king was dangerous, perhaps more so now that he had been cornered. "This trial is an outrage," King Tejo declared. "I have ruled the hegemony for 30 years. I have brought order to the chaos of space." Elder Counselor Kim, now acting as head of the Emergency Council, spoke firmly. "You have been presented with evidence of your crimes against diplomatic envoys. 17 confirmed deaths. This council must determine your guilt or innocence." The king's face twisted into a smile that chilled the room. "You think you have one? You think this witch has saved you?" He pulled a small device from his sleeve, something the guards had missed in their search. "While you played at justice, I prepared. There is a doomsday weapon aimed at Earth's moon. One signal from me, and Ambassador Park's homeworld will suffer catastrophically." Gasps filled the chamber. Several counselors rose from their seats. "The gravitational disruption would cause tidal waves that would kill millions," the king continued, his finger hovering over the device's button. "Now, you will restore me to the throne, or Earth pays the price." All eyes turned to Nari, who hadn't moved from her seat. "Ambassador Park," Elder Kim said urgently, "he threatens your world." Nari finally stood. She straightened her jacket and walked calmly toward the king. "You should stop moving," King Tejo warned, raising the device. "One more step and I activate the weapon." "That would be concerning," Nari replied, continuing to approach, "if the weapon still existed." The king's confident smile faltered. "You're bluffing." "Am I? The same way I bluffed my way through your security? The same way I bluffed past your assassins?" Nari stopped 3 steps away from him. "I found your weapon satellite yesterday. Its targeting systems had an unfortunate malfunction." "Impossible. The access codes are known only to me." "The same codes you use for your personal files? The ones stored in your private terminal?" Nari shook her head. "Your security habits are predictable, Your Majesty." The king's face drained of color. He frantically pressed the button on his device. Nothing happened. He pressed it again and again. "What have you done?" he whispered. "The weapon has been disabled and moved to a safe orbit. Earth is unharmed." Nari turned to address the council. I came here to establish peaceful relations between Earth and the hegemony. Instead, I found a tyrant eliminating anyone who challenged him. She activated a holographic display showing documents, ship logs, and communication records. This evidence confirms that King Taeho ordered the deaths of 17 diplomats from developing worlds. He planned to keep newer species isolated and powerless while the established worlds maintained control. Counselor Min stood. We've suspected for years but had no proof. Now we do. Other counselors nodded in agreement. Even the king's closest allies stepped away from him, unwilling to defend the indefensible. You can't do this. King Taeho screamed as royal security. His own men placed him in restraints. I am the hegemony. Not anymore, said Elder Kim. The hegemony will become a true council of worlds. He turned to Nari. Including Earth. The king was led away, still shouting threats that no one heeded. The danger had passed. Later, as Nari prepared to return home, Counselor Min approached her privately. The Baba Yaga, she said quietly. I thought it was just propaganda. A boogeyman invented to explain Earth's diplomatic successes. Nari smiled enigmatically. I'm just a diplomat who's good at her job. And the stories? The impossible missions? The fallen dictators? Stories grow in the telling, Nari replied, boarding her ship. But sometimes, the witch in the story is exactly who you need when facing monsters. As her ship departed from the station, Nari received a final message from Earth Command. It contained only coordinates for her next mission, another world, another tyrant who thought himself untouchable. Nari smiled as she set the course. The Baba Yaga was a legend that had spread across the stars, a shadow that brought justice where conventional diplomacy failed. Some called her a witch, others a guardian. To Earth, she was their most effective ambassador. She thought about the new galactic council that would replace the hegemony. For the first time, all species would have an equal voice. The king's victims would receive justice. New worlds would join without fear. Not bad for a week's work, Nari murmured to herself as her ship accelerated into the darkness of space, carrying the Baba Yaga to her next mission. Back on the station, the council members watched Earth's diplomatic vessel disappear among the stars. Do you think we'll see her again? Counselor Min asked. Elder Kim nodded slowly. When we need her. The Baba Yaga appears when justice requires more than words. And disappears when the monsters are gone, Min added softly. The legend would grow, as legends do. But unlike most, this one was real.